Hi, I'm Ben. I'm an InterNACHI certified home inspector, and today we're going to inspect this house. Now the homeowner, they want to know what's wrong with the house, if anything, so that they can catch small problems before they become too big to fix themselves. And that's the main reason to get a home inspection. I think every home should be inspected so that we can keep our homes functioning, safe, and healthy. And I've asked a local home inspector to help me today. So I've got my tools, and Joe is right over there. Let's go meet Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, Ben. How are you?
Good to see you.
You
Thanks
too.
for doing this home inspection with us today.
No problem.
So you're Joe Rodriquez.
Yes, sir.
From Due Diligence Property Inspections.
Yes, sir.
And you're a North Carolina licensed home inspector?
Yes, I'm an InterNACHI certified.
And also an InterNACHI certified
Yes, sir.
home inspector?
Yes.
And you've been doing home inspections for years?
Yes.
And you're located around Raleigh, or?
I'm centered in Rocky Mount, but
Rocky
I
Mount.
service Wilson, Greenville, Tarboro, Raleigh.
You go all over the place.
Pretty much an hour radius from Rocky Mount.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this home inspection with us. I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Where do you usually begin when you do a home inspection?
Well, first I kind of have a conversation with my client
Yeah.
to understand what it is exactly that they're looking for. Sometimes they're homeowners who are in the process of buying a house.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're current homeowners, and I think more people should do this, who are interested in paying attention to certain maintenance issues.
Yeah.
And they want to get an assessment on what needs to be done for their homes.
That's right.
So in most real estate transaction markets, the buyer's pretty much concerned with any big ticket items that need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
In this case, we have someone who purchased this home. They understand that it was in need of some repairs. It was built in 1955.
Yeah.
So they're in the market for that kind of home. It's the home that they want.
Yep.
They know that they're going to have to put in some sweat equity in it. And so we're going to be looking at some of the features that they would want to know to plan for repairs in the future.
That's really good, valuable information
Yeah.
you're going to provide.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you begin? On the exterior or the roof?
So I typically start off at the driveway.
Okay.
And as I walk up to the house in the driveway, I'm looking at the way the roof is designed and how the roof is controlling the water.
Yeah.
Where that water is going to be flowing for most part.
Yeah.
It also gives us indications, for example, if there are valleys that intersect at a roof, to pay special attention to that area when you're in the attic space or inside of the house, looking at the ceilings and walls for water penetration.
Yeah, so we're in North Carolina, and we're concerned with rain. It rains a lot around here, and you're trying to make sure that the roof is diverting water away from the house.
Correct.
The gutters, the downspouts, and the grating have to get all that water away.
That's right.
Because water damages stuff.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that that's happening, that's actually functioning the way that it should.
Yeah.
And most times you'll see gutters installed, which is a good idea to always have, but not everyone considers them.
Yeah.
And so when they're not there, then you begin to see some issues come up.
Yeah.
So I typically start off with the driveway.
Okay. Yeah. How's the driveway?
Well, the driveway is made of asphalt and pebble stone. It's a little old. Like I said, it was built in 1955. It's got some typical cracking.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It probably can be resurfaced, because when you see the aggregate showing through like this,
Yep.
the smaller pieces of the asphalt are beginning to wear away.
Okay.
So it might use a top coat maybe if they want to consider something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else should we look
With
at?
the driveways, I'm looking for trip hazards also.
Oh, yeah.
And in this particular driveway, I don't see any trip hazards.
Okay. So that'll be in your report, and when you find a maintenance issue or a defect, you'll take a picture of it?
Right. I'll take a picture of it and I'll put notes on it. The reports are typically categorized as things that are should be monitored.
Yeah.
Things that should be addressed but are not really, really urgent.
Yeah.
They could be like, say you find a dirty air filter in the filtration system, say, look, you should really change these every 3 months.
Yeah.
Or according to your installer's specifications. And then other issues are more pressing, like say you can see an active leak in a roof that's causing water damage, plumbing leaks. That would be something that would be considered more of a material defect.
And you'll need a contractor for that.
Yeah.
The air filter, A homeowner should be able
A
to do that.
homeowner should be able to do that.
So that's the distinction
That's
between
right.
the two.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find maybe little problems so that the homeowner can fix them before they become really big problems where
Exactly.
you need to hire a contractor.
Exactly.
I mean, ideally, homeowners should be able to take care of their own homes with small problems.
Absolutely.
And sometimes small problems they don't even know about.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yep. Talking about maintenance, one of the products that I give every one of my clients is your homeowner maintenance manual from International.
Yeah.
You know,
It's filled with good stuff.
it's got a lot of information on it that educate consumers on how to take care of the property and prolong the serviceability of their homes.
Yeah. It's the best book in the library.
Yeah. So to get onto how I do my roof inspection.
Yeah. What are you doing with that?
So this is a binocular, right? So I'll look at the roof from the ground level with binoculars.
Okay.
I could see areas on this roof with some water infiltration at the soffit.
Okay.
So I'll take a look at that with my binoculars.
Yep.
I'll also take a photo of that. We're not required to explain why something is defective or why something isn't working as it should.
Yep.
But some things are pretty clear.
Yeah.
At times when you have shingles that are old in the roof, you have missing shingles, you have exposed fasteners, you have water penetration, you have the sheathing that has deteriorated, and then underneath you see water damage at the soffit.
At that corner.
It doesn't take too much to understand what's happening there.
Water is damaging that.
Right. Yeah. Right. So as I'm inspecting the carport roof.
Yeah.
From the underside because I'm looking for water indications of water infiltration.
Yep.
And I'm looking at insect damage over here.
Yeah.
Right, we have carpenter bees.
Carpenter bees.
Yeah.
Those are the ones with the saws and hammers.
Yeah, those carpenter bees burrow into the wood. For some reason, they like soft woods better than hardwoods.
Yep.
They'll burrow in, make a 90-degree turn, travel about 4 to 6 inches,
Yep.
lay their egg there, and then move along.
So that's what those perfect
that's what
circular
these-
holes are.
Yeah, that's what those little holes
They'll
are.
do 1/2 inch diameter, perfect circle hole.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So if a homeowner parks their car in the carport, and in the morning they're noticing sawdust
Right.
on their hood of
Yeah.
the cars, it's a good idea to take a look up and see that the sawdust is coming
Yep.
from the carpenter bee activities.
Now, that is eating wood. They're eating wood.
Yeah.
But house isn't going to fall down quite
No,
yet.
no,
But it's something it's like a maintenance.
It's a problem. It's a nuisance
yeah.
because they're exposing the pulp of the wood, the interior of the wood.
Yeah.
You're preserving the wood with paint. They're creating openings that are get infiltrated with water.
Yeah.
And now that waterway is going to start to do its
If you
thing.
leave it go,
If you don't
it's
take
going to
it.
just become bigger problem.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So small problem now that can be addressed.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
All right.
And then over here, we have some indication of wood rot.
Yeah. How do you know it's wood rot? Do you poke
Here,
something?
well, I could take
Okay.
I could take a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And it's pretty evident.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to destroy it much more, but
Right.
you can see it's coming apart there.
Yep.
And there's water indication of it coming down from here.
Yep. So a homeowner can go around with a screwdriver too.
So the homeowner can go around. Another thing that they could do as they walk the perimeter of their properties is looking for something called termite tubes.
Yeah.
Right? So this house is built on a slab. It doesn't have a crawl space.
Yep.
But termites don't consider whether you have a crawl space or
don't
not.
care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to make these tubes and get into
And
your
they're
house.
coming from the ground.
They're coming from the ground, and you'll see tubes connecting to the interior of the house.
Yeah.
Coming up against the brick foundation, they almost look like capillary vines,
Yeah. But made out of mud.
but made out of mud.
And they're building it
That's right.
to protect themselves, and they crawl in the
That's
tunnels.
right, because they need to keep their tunnels humid.
Yeah.
And then they'll work their way into your rooftop and
They could go all the way up to the attic.
They'll get all the way up to the attic.
Yeah.
So as the homeowner's walking around the property, they have something to probe to make sure that the wood's not getting damaged.
Yep.
That they don't see any wood destroying organism,
Yeah.
which could be a termite,
Yep.
could be mold, could be fungus, but they want to look out for these
And
things.
as a home inspector, you're looking up and down. I mean,
Yes.
you're looking all down there, all
Yes.
around, looking for wood rot, but you may come across something else.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what else are we looking at?
So we're looking at windows. These windows are replacement windows. Originally, the windows that were here, they were wood-framed windows.
Yeah.
And they were replaced with these windows that are double paned,
Yep.
argon glass filled, E-coated, so they're more efficient in terms of keeping the temperatures inside and being more economical to run your HVAC system.
Yeah.
But the installer here hasn't completed the job.
Right.
Where they should not have bare wood exposed. This wood should be finished with an exterior grade paint.
Yeah.
In order to preserve the wood.
Yep. So it doesn't rot.
Right. And from my evaluation, most of the windows in the house have been replaced.
Yeah.
The other
But
thing,
some unfinished work needs to be done.
yeah. The other things that are really important to look at windows in a brick opening
Yep.
is this metal lintel up on top.
Yep.
So that metal iron takes the load of the brick wall and dispenses it so that it's traveling around the opening.
Yeah.
And continue to transfer that load around the opening. So you want to make sure that that's not deteriorating, that it's
Right.
not rusting. And I'm beginning to see some signs of rusting
Yep.
here.
Yep.
So I would recommend that be brushed off and preserved with the appropriate painting.
Yeah, so you go to Home Depot or
Yeah.
Lowe's or something and get a metal brush
Yeah.
to clean that up and then paint it again.
Right, so they would scrape it, they would
Yep.
prime it, and then
Yep,
they
and
would
then paint it.
preserve it with the appropriate
And
paint.
get some wood paint as well.
And paint that, and
Yeah.
all the seals where the joints meet, you want to have tight seals, so you would get the appropriate window seal installed before you paint and then paint.
Yeah, so wood rots,
Yeah,
steel rusts.
right, correct.
And it's just like the same thing.
Yeah.
Water will cause
Yeah.
major problems.
Yeah, and the problem with
over
the
time.
steel lintel rusting is that the rust causes the steel to expand.
Swell up.
It swells up and
Yeah.
then it compresses against the brick, and you'll get something known as step cracking along the mortar lines when that becomes really big. And,
Yeah.
and that differential puts a lot of stress.
And now you've caused a structural problem.
Yeah, so you go from just maintaining your paint,
Right, right.
just maintaining your paint, to
Yep.
now you have to deal with brick repair.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yep. Okay, cool.
The other things we're looking at is the windows. These are older. The house was built in 1955. These are the original windows.
Yep.
This is tempered glass. There's a seal here where it tells you that it's tempered on the side.
Now, tempered, if this cracks, it's going to crack into a bunch of little pieces, and it's not going to hurt somebody.
So similar to like a car's windshield.
Yeah.
This has a film over it that if this window breaks, it'll keep it together.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, it would like crack in a big piece, and it could come up down and it'd be like a guillotine.
Now there is one window here that is not tempered,
Oh yeah.
and that's this one here.
Yeah. Oh, I can see, and
Yeah.
there's the crack.
Yeah.
So you're, as a home inspector, you're going to look for any kind of cracks in glass.
Right.
This is a safety feature here.
Right. So that there is the potential for that to become a bigger problem or
Yep.
even a safety risk.
Yeah.
Is present. So I'll just make a note of that,
Yep.
as well as the peeling paint
Yeah.
on the finish. I would let the owners know that this should probably be looked at by a painting contractor.
It looks like the house could use some painting here and there. The front door,
Yeah.
the windows.
Yeah.
But the wood rot at the load-bearing post there that we saw earlier, that's more of a problem.
that
a
that
structural
is
problem.
that's more of a problem.
All right.
Yeah.
How's the front look? Any?
So no, the front, the walkways, there are no trip hazards
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
It's I don't see any issues here.
Okay.
The lighting, I would go inside and make sure that the lighting works.
Okay.
So I'll turn the light switch on and off. These are soffit vents.
Yeah.
So this allows this particular low slope roof to ventilate.
Yep.
I would caution the homeowner, if they ever plan on doing any remodeling, to not obstruct the ventilation system for the roof.
Yeah.
This is important for the roof to work the way it should work.
Yeah.
So they might not like the way that looks there. They should probably look for a different kind of cover maybe that
Right.
might be more suitable to their liking. But the mechanical purpose of that
Yeah.
vent being there should not be altered.
I've seen that before where the black screen isn't aesthetically pleasing, so
Right.
they'll just spray right over it.
They could-
And when they spray the screen,
They
the
seal it.
holes are sealed up.
They seal it.
And that takes care of the ventilation.
That pretty much deletes the ventilation.
Yeah,
They
that's no
should-
good.
They should
That's no
not
good.
do that. Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
So the other thing I'm looking at is the grading of the property.
Yeah.
We have gutters that are coming down, and I want to see what direction is the water going to flow when the water hits the ground. We want a grading that takes the water away from the house.
Yeah.
If we had negative grading, then this ground would be higher, causing the water to run up and rest against the foundation, which is what we don't want.
Right.
We want the water to be running away.
Yep.
And the grading here seems to be rather neutral.
Yeah.
It's not sloping towards the house. There's a slight slope forward.
Yep.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And then also the roof has gutters.
Right.
Those need to be cleaned, and then the gutters have downspouts.
That's right.
And those should be extended.
Right. So this downspout, I would recommend, so some people put splash blocks underneath it.
Yeah.
But the splash blocks don't do much for carrying the water away.
Right here.
The splash blocks only protect the earth from erosion.
Right.
What we want to do is get the water to move away from the house.
Right.
So I would put like a 5-6 foot extension from there to take the water and let it percolate in this area into the ground, rather than it percolating at the foundation.
And if the homeowner doesn't like above ground pipes, they can go underground with a drainage pipe, and then as long as it goes to daylight somewhere.
That's right. So you can trench the ground 6 inches deep, maybe put some perforated pipe underneath there, and have an outlet exit over here.
Yep. Oh, it's a beautiful tree. Is it too close to the house, or are you concerned about it?
This tree has been trimmed.
Yeah.
There, the limbs were growing towards the house at some point.
Yeah.
And this is something that you'll need to monitor so that the tree doesn't touch the roof. Right now, this tarp is covering the crown of this chimney.
Okay.
Right, because there's a low level of water infiltration. It's not very severe, but on the very heavy rainstorms, you could see the water infiltrating inside of the house. So that's being topped right now until we can get a mason to come in and evaluate the crown. The crown of the chimney is the concrete portion at the top that surrounds the flue pipe.
Right.
And that should be sloped and sealed so that water's not getting in.
But something's wrong there.
This one is present and it's cracked and maybe water's getting in through there.
Yep.
A home inspector is not a chimney repair licensed individual.
Right.
We do the evaluation. We understand that it's not performing as it should.
Yep.
And I recommend that a chimney repair licensed contractor come and evaluate the cause and the correction for the condition on this chimney.
And it's a unsafe kind of situation for a homeowner to fix. They're not skilled enough to fix it. Plus, they don't want to be on the roof anyways. Would you come and watch the contractor to make sure that they're doing a good job?
Well, that's
for the homeowner. Like, hey, I'll check your contractor to make sure they do a good job for you.
That depends from inspector to inspector.
Yeah.
Some inspectors feel like if the contractor's doing a job, the contractor should stand by his product, warranty his product, and ultimately the liability for performance and durability rests on the contractor that did the correction.
That's right.
Other inspectors, home inspectors, would act as consultants sometimes, where they would come in and with the understanding that we're not going to be enforcing any code rules. We're not going to be, but we're going to opine on whether or not something is being done according to acceptable industry standards.
That's good.
And some people like the benefit of having someone who's more familiar with how things should be done, not necessarily from a regulatory perspective, but to have somebody that has more knowledge about them than they do, to kind of monitor the repair and let them know if it's acceptable.
Because we don't want, nobody wants a contractor taking shortcuts.
No, definitely.
So up there, it's difficult for a homeowner to see. Hiring a home inspector to oversee things might be a good idea.
Yeah.
That's good.
That could be a good idea. Yeah, so as we were inspecting the roof, we noticed that we have some water infiltration issues at the soffit here. And we have tools where we could feel with our hands, right? God gave us the ability to feel humidity with our skin. But we also have tools like this when we don't want to bring a ladder. This saves time. We can use this tool to press into the wood fiber and see if it's wet.
dry.
So here we have a carport. The carport, we kind of treat it as another roofing system because it does have to mitigate or decontent with water on top.
Yep.
So it does have a TPO covering on top. TPO is like a white vinyl that covers the roof. It's for low slope roofs.
Yeah.
You can't put asphalt like that on a low laying.
No shingles on that. Shingles are on a sloped roof.
Shingles have to be.
But when it's flat like this,
then they use a membrane.
Different material. Yeah. Yep.
And this particular area had some water damage that has been repaired.
Yeah.
So the bare wood is areas that have been repaired.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the doors here.
Yep.
The door has been repaired once already, at least once in the past, but it needs to be evaluated by...
Same thing, just some painting.
Yeah.
Some painting by the homeowner needs to be done here.
Yeah.
And that's a contractor or a homeowner, a skilled homeowner?
Well, the thing about this particular paint is that the home was built in 1955.
Yeah.
So we have some lead paint concerns with that era.
Yep.
If it was a newer home built in the 2000s, then we wouldn't be too concerned about that. So I would definitely at least want to have this evaluated to determine if it contains lead before the homeowner starts sanding and peeling things away.
Yeah, so if you have a little kid especially, you don't want to cause a problem, a hazard, by having lead dust on the floor, and then those kids put it in their mouths, and that causes health problems for little kids especially.
Exactly, and I see that the homeowner here has a pet.
Yep.
And we don't want this stuff going into the dog's drinking bowl.
That's right.
Right?
Okay.
So we would want to get that determined, and then the remediation company, if it turns out to be lead, would consider different plans of correction.
Yep.
And again, we have the lintels against door openings and window openings that we want to make sure that they're working properly.
Right.
We're also looking for, when we're looking at the brick, we're looking for deviations. We're looking for step cracking. We're looking for indications of ground movement.
And that's a step crack means like something that looks like a step, like it's stepping up.
This mortar, if I were to jack up this corner, it would stress out the whole corner, and you would see an indication of that pressure by a break in the mortar that indicates a step.
And it cracks in the mortar because this is the weaker point.
Right.
And sometimes the brick will crack.
Now that's the most significant.
Yeah, now it's really a structural movement kind of thing.
Right.
When
you have a stress crack that's going through the brick itself,
no good.
That's a situation where it might involve the opinion of an engineer at that point.
Yeah.
Because now you have a structural concern.
And that's kind of beyond what we do as a home inspector.
Beyond what we do.
Yep. All right, so what is this gray box here?
So here we have the electrical panel service to the house. And basically electricity comes into a home in one of two fashions.
Yeah.
It either comes from the overhead or underground.
This is overhead.
And this one is an overhead service. And the service drop is up there. Some of the things that we look for with the service drop connection is that we want to see if the mast is properly connected to the house.
Yep.
So we'll pull on that. We'll see if the box is secured. Make sure that the box is rated, and this box is rated for outdoor use.
Yep.
We'll touch the meter base head, make sure that that's securely affixed to the house.
Yep.
And it appears that the service drop comes in, goes into the connects.
Yep.
Here, let's see.
Yep.
Here. And then we have the main service disconnect here.
Right. It says 200 amps.
Right. And then we have the HVAC units. That's heat pump 1, heat pump 2, and that's for the pool equipment. So there's a swimming pool here on the property.
But there are more breakers somewhere.
There are more breakers here.
Yeah, these are the main disconnects.
This is the main service panel, and this shuts down the entire system.
Boom. Yep.
Right.
That's not a normal kind of use. Only in an emergency would you do that. Okay,
right.
I get it.
Right.
Yep.
Another thing we do is that we remove the panel cover. They call this the dead front cover.
Yep.
What is the material that the service line drops in?
Okay.
I'm looking at here, and I'm seeing that it's an aluminum strand.
Yep.
And the breakers, we're looking for that they didn't remove too much sheathing, which might promote arcing.
Yep.
If there's too much sheathing removed.
Yep.
We're looking to see that the breakers are in place, that they're not loose.
Yep.
We're looking at they're not overheating.
Yep.
We're looking to see if we have wires that are showing indications of scorching.
Yeah, or melting or something.
Overheating
Yep.
or melting. We're looking at proper connections for the neutral,
Yep.
the ground bar, the bus bar.
Yep. And how's it look to you?
It looks fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're also looking for holes
Yep.
that are not covered, that would allow critters to come in and chew up the wires.
Right.
We're looking for indications of water penetration, any rusting, and this seems to be a relatively new installation, so it doesn't have any of those issues right now.
And homeowners don't have to take this cover off.
Homeowners do not remove this.
No.
No.
Okay. Because it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're here looking at the electrical panel, Ben, we can also see that we have a junction box.
Yeah.
Here, and that junction box takes conductors to service the air conditioning units.
Yeah.
And each unit has its own cutoff.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep.
And as we look over, we see some steel pipe
Right.
here that is typically known for gas pipe.
And this looks like a shutoff valve.
It's also bonded
Yeah. That's perfect.
over here. And then when we look down, we see a sleeve. We should be seeing a sleeve when the pipe is going underground. It should be sleeved.
Okay.
Right, and that's what that plastic does. That plastic protects the pipe from damage.
Yeah.
Then we also have a tracer wire. That yellow tracer wire follows the pipe all the way out to the outside of the wall, and the meter in this case was installed on the opposite side of the brick wall.
Sometimes the meter is right here,
Sometimes
next to the
meter
house.
is right here.
Usually, actually.
That's right.
Yeah. But this
So-
one is over there.
So if you're not really paying attention to why things are where they are,
Yeah.
you might, just overlook the fact that there's a meter installed in this house.
Yeah.
But because you don't see the meter, you might think the meter was removed,
Yeah.
and
Right.
incorrectly say, oh, the meter has been removed.
It's just relocated.
It's relocated,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
removed.
Okay, so junction box to the disconnects, and these disconnects are for each of the heat pump units.
Right. So this larger unit here services the first floor. The smaller unit services the second floor,
They look new to me.
and they have been recently installed.
And each one has to have a disconnect.
Right. So each one does have a disconnect. You put
Yep.
it in. When you pull this out,
Yep.
it shuts off the unit.
Yep.
Service people can work on this now safely without risk of being
Right.
shocked by accident.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's coming in and turning a breaker on them or something.
Yep.
And
So it's the disconnect. This is by code. You need one right here.
Yes, sir.
Even though we have one in that panel there.
that's right.
There's a main disconnect breaker. This is a disconnect
It
pull.
does.
Yep.
It does.
And each one has a refrigerant line.
Right. So we have the lines that are insulated. This is a suction line. Each one has its own line. This is a condenser pipe. As the unit's working, the unit's producing condensation
And the inside.
in the inside, and you want to remove that to the outside, and that's what this pipe here does.
It's kind of like a mini downspout.
Yeah,
But
for the HVAC.
shouldn't this be discharging water away from the house
So
a
it
little
should.
bit? Yeah.
Definitely. I would recommend that this be turned out and discharged.
Okay.
And all water from the home, the minimum amount of carrying, when I say carry the water away,
Yeah.
is a minimum of 4 feet.
Yeah.
It should be no less than 4 feet away.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
so-
that's a little maintenance issue.
Yeah.
And all this is sealed up just to prevent bugs from going in there.
That's right.
Yep.
Now, most homeowners and most HVAC installers, their opinion about this is that it's okay because it's not a year-round water discharge. The point is that for the period of time that it is discharging
Yeah.
water, you have water pooling against the house.
Yeah, like gallons of water.
And we want to get that water away
Yeah, good idea.
from the house. Another thing to note is that these exterior receptacles are GFCI protected,
Okay.
and they're in weatherproof enclosures.
Yep.
If you have an upgrade in electrical services, they're going to require that you put receptacles that meet today's standards.
Yeah.
Some people, in particular some homeowners, might meet some handymen who have this concept of what grandfathering means.
Right.
and they think that because the home was built at a certain era, in this case 1955,
A long time ago.
that they could do everything they did in 1955.
Yeah.
When you're upgrading a system, let's say I remove the handrails to the stairs that go upstairs.
Yeah.
Originally, in the 1955 home, the height of the handrail was not as high as today's standards.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to completely remove those and put in some new handrails, now they need to meet today's standards.
Yeah.
I'm not grandfathered into doing what I did before.
Right.
If I'm going to be removing the component that was once acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it was built to code back then, but it's no longer safe.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason that they've upgraded the standard is because there was an issue or concern with that standard then.
Yeah.
And we live by standards because standards improve.
Yeah.
Right.
And they keep us safe.
That's right.
And this is a safety device, actually.
That's right.
And all exterior receptacles should have GFCI protection.
They should have GFCI
just
protection,
like this one.
and they should be weather covered.
Okay.
So when it comes to the HVAC units, some of the things that we look for, typically we want to make sure they have good base. I happen to know that these are on pads. The pads are hidden underneath this gravel, but as I move the gravel, I can see the padding. The gravel is covered with an underlayment of landscape material. So our home inspections are non-invasive. So we don't want to start removing things, disassembling things, damaging things in order to try to find out if something is where something should be. But I can feel with my screwdriver, I can feel the base there. I'm also looking to make sure that the unit is level. I'm making sure that vegetation around the unit is away, that it's got good ability to move air. The air gets drawn in through these vents, so we want to make sure that we don't have any dirt, debris, insects. If you have a lawnmower, this is something homeowners should really pay attention to. They'll have the HVAC units working. As they come across the yard with the lawnmower, all that grass that they're cutting up gets sucked into the HVAC system, and it begins to clog up the fins. That's reducing the efficiency of the unit. So one of the things you need to do, 3 or 4 times a year, is inspect the fins, make sure that the fins are properly cleaned, hose them down. Yep. You can buy a product, the homeowner can go buy a spray, HVAC cleaner, condenser cleaner, spray the unit, doesn't require a lot of labor, a lot of work, and then gently with a hose. You don't want to use a jet hose and damage and bend the fins. You just want to rinse off that material and make sure that they're clean. We're going to be concerned with the same thing on the inside, making sure that there's no debris, that the fan is free moving, that there aren't any obstructions inside of the fan unit. We also want to look at the condition of the insulation on the suction lines. Over a course of time, they tend to deteriorate, and the reason that they're there is to help your unit work more efficiently. If you begin to see that they're deteriorating, I would replace those as soon as you possibly can. We can see right now that there used to be a smaller meter-based system installed here for the electricity.
Here.
That was upgraded.
Yeah.
And then this here is a makeup air vent. So we have air intakes that are built into the door.
Yep.
Right. And
Registers.
we also have a makeup air here.
Okay. Because inside
we have something that uses fuel in order to produce heat.
Yep.
Right. So we have a gas-fired hot water heater here, and then we have 2 furnaces that operate by gas. This mechanical room appears to have been recently renovated. The reason I know it's recently renovated because in 1955 we did not have this color sheetrock.
Ah.
Right? So this is
good clue.
This is a sheetrock that's designed for high humidity areas.
Yeah.
It's a special sheetrock made for
modern
bathrooms.
Yeah.
It's more modern.
Yeah.
This house, if this would have been the original wall, it would have been plaster.
Right.
And lathing.
Right.
Is it lathing?
Lathe.
Lath.
Lath.
Right?
Plaster lath.
Right. So that's what we would have had here.
Yeah.
Again, we have a sub panel inside this room. And this sub panel operates some of the circuitry that's going into the kitchen. It does the dish, the washer, the refrigerator, and it's also doing bedrooms 1, 2, 3, 4. And the light receptacle right here.
So it's important for breakers to be labeled correctly.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we would look for when we get inside the sub panel, where we're going to see the breaker for most of the circuits inside of the house, is the labeling.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that the labeling is there. However, a home inspection can't verify that that labeling was performed properly.
Right. Yep.
Right. So I might test something if the house is occupied. I won't test any of the breakers because it's occupied.
Yeah.
If I'm doing like a new construction inspection where there's no medical equipment inside, no personal equipment plugged into anything, I would test the arc fault circuit interrupter breakers.
Right.
To make sure that those are working.
Yeah.
And I'll show you what those look like when we get inside.
Okay.
But here we have the other half of the air conditioning unit.
Yep.
Right? This is the heating.
This is the heating part
Of the unit. This is the furnace.
Yep.
And also the air handler.
Yep.
There's a blower here that takes the air. This one is blowing the air downward. So they call this a down boy.
Okay.
And then this one is flowing upward.
Okay.
So this one supplies the second floor, this one supplies the first floor, and as a homeowner, what you want to do is you want to make sure that these filters inside here are properly changed.
Can you reach that one?
The furnace is on right now,
So the air filter is sucked up in
so
there.
it's sucking it downward.
Okay. So we can get to that later.
But here's an example of the filter. And you want to make sure that you put the date of when you installed it. Every home is different. Some homes require that you change the filter because of the number of windows you have. It depends on your environment, how much vegetation you have around you. Do you have sandy soil? Do you open your windows more frequently than your neighbors do?
Right.
Do you keep your windows shut all the time and only use the HVAC system? All of those variables affect the durability and the schedule that you would require to be changing these.
Yep.
So every homeowner should determine what that frequency is by checking these at least at a minimum once every 3 months.
Yep.
Take it out, take a look at it. If it looks good, then you know you're good for 3 months. Check it the next month. Check it the next month. If at the 5th month it needs to be replaced, now you know you have a frequency about 4 to 5 months for each filter based on the way that you use your house.
Yeah, great idea.
The other thing we're looking at is the flue connections, because this unit uses gas, right? The heating function operates on the gas, which is the gas meter that we were looking at earlier. And one of the things that we're looking for is before the gas pipe enters the appliance, this is called the appliance, we want to make sure that we have something called a drip leg. They call it different things in other places. Some people call it a sediment trap. Some people call it a dirt leg, drip leg. But what we want is for this to be here as the gas line comes in and then turns up to get into the appliance. We want to make sure that we have that before it enters the appliance. We also want to look at the condition of the pipe, making sure we don't have any oxidation or rust on the pipes. We have the shutoff valve here located on the pipe. And for a homeowner to know, is my gas pipe on or off right now? This is how you know. When the lever to your gas pipe is in line with the pipe, I'm going to turn it off this way. Right now, the gas service is off, right? So you're creating a cutoff between the gas flow coming this way. When you turn it and the valve is in line with the pipe, then your supply line is open.
Yeah. Cool.
We're looking at the flue system here. These are called B vents. We're making sure that they don't have any screws penetrating them, because if you're going to compromise the design of the pipe by puncturing it with screws, then you're just creating a problem with exhausts, right?
And rust and corrosion is no good either.
That's right. And also we're looking at strapping for the pipe. We want to make sure that it has the correct strapping and the correct pitch as it goes up into the flue the chimney flue. And then we have the seals, making sure that everything is properly sealed and that we don't have any open vents allowing the gas to come back inside the house.
And what's the tank there?
So this is a hot water tank. This hot water tank also operates by gas power. Here we have the connector for the gas down here. And it comes to this gas pipe here. And then there's a cutoff for the hot water heater, right before the hot water heater there, where you could shut off the gas supply to the line. Another thing about the gas and water heaters is that they require an electrical cutoff so that you could do servicing to it and not be at risk of getting electrocuted. So this panel is within sight of the electrical breaker. So whenever a water heater is within eye of sight or line of sight of the electrical breakers, then you don't need a circuit breaker lockout and you don't need a cutoff here because you're in the same area with the breaker, so you can maintain your safety while you're working on it. But in most cases, I'm looking to make sure that we have a water supply cutoff, we have gas supply cutoff, we have electric supply cutoff if it doesn't meet the requirement of line of sight to the panel. The other thing we're looking at is the flue, where the gases leave the water heater. If we see a lot of carbon deposits on top of there, we're going to be thinking that we have a problem with the way that the flue is exhausting. Yep. So I would have a mechanical contractor come in and evaluate why is there so much carbon deposit developing on top of the hot water heater. And the other thing we look at is the water pipe connections. Are they developing signs of corrosion? The gas heater, the water heater cabinet, we're looking for indications of rust. This unit is at the end of its lifespan. It's still working. And I would tell my client, it's working, it doesn't have any problems, but you should be budgeting for a new one because their lifespan is somewhere around 10 to 15 years. And this guy has given the homeowner every penny's worth of that time. So at some point, we're gonna have to be thinking about replacing it. At the current time, I don't see any issues with the hot water heater. So this particular property is boarded. The entire perimeter of the property has a 6-foot brick wall built around it. And while the North Carolina home inspection does not require us to inspect fences, inspect anything that's not attached to the house, could be contracted, where we could agree to inspect those for an additional fee. But the state of North Carolina does not require us to inspect.
So there's a standards of practice,
there's a standard,
but it's like a minimum.
That's right.
If you wanted to exceed it, you have to talk with your client.
That's right.
And then, oh, okay, Joe was going to talk about the fence now. Okay.
Right. Yep. So in this case, my client wanted to know a little bit about the brick wall.
Yeah, what's up with the brick wall? Looks good.
So we have a brick wall and
looks perfect.
Well, we do have a crown on top of the brick wall.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have some crown missing.
Yeah.
At that end over there.
Can we see that?
Yeah.
Oh, I see pieces of chunks. So just like the chimney, the top of the chimney. So just like the top of a chimney stack, it should be crowned to divert water away from that top.
This is what you would see on a chimney crown.
Yeah.
You would see a cement that's contoured just like this.
Yep.
Well, this is called a capstone. When it comes to brick walls, they're called capstones.
Yeah. Like a cap on top.
That's right. And what it does is that it prevents water from permeating the wall and then causing efflorescence and causing the mortar to have problems with the mortar. So we have some missing over here as well.
Yep. Up here.
That's right. We have some missing there.
And it's the bricks they have the holes, so water would just go in here and eventually just start doing nasty things to masonry.
Right.
Water and masonry really don't mix. Like, you should keep the masonry dry.
As best as you can.
Yeah.
Because the brick is a porous material.
Yeah.
Regardless of how well you're going to seal that top, the surface of the brick, the face of the brick absorbs and
there you go.
And evaporates water. And those are keyholes, what you're showing there, Ben. The mortar fills those holes in and they become keys that lock that in place.
Yep.
And you can tell that this one's aging.
Yep.
So I would have my client evaluate all of the capstone along the whole
The brick
wall.
looks good.
Yeah, the brick
It's just
is in
this
good
top.
shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for one area back here, we have this huge tree that's grown, and it's actually
That's like 80 feet. Is it near the brick? Oh, I see something. Oh, yeah.
so this has caused the entire brick wall to crack from top to bottom.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yep. So that tree hit the brick wall.
So the tree
and moved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a case like this, definitely I would have a mason
Yep.
come and evaluate this. I think removing the tree might become an issue.
Yeah.
So it needs to be considered. Either the tree gets removed or the repair for the brick compensates for some kind of change that allows the tree to grow another 10, 15, 20, 50 years into the future and not have to deal with the tree anymore.
I've built brick walls like this, and like it's a concern if the wall is going to fall. That's a few hundred pounds.
Yeah.
It's going to come down and it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
You won't be able to hold it up.
Oh, no.
So when it comes down, it comes down. So it's a safety issue. It's not just a structural or a cosmetic one.
Right.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah.
And it's also helping people from the pool, which is right there.
Yeah.
So it's a barrier to protect people from the pool, and we don't want that in bad shape.
That's right.
Okay.
So while we're not required by the scope of the standards of practice to do these types of inspections for things that are not attached to the house, whenever I get the opportunity and when I could extend the courtesy and I have the time to do so, especially when it's something that's that outstanding, I would make mention of it.
Yeah, that's nice.
So Ben, here we are in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And in the kitchen, what we're looking for basically is we're looking at the cabinets, we're looking at the hardware in the cabinets, we're looking definitely at the plumbing.
Yeah.
We'll also check for plumbing in the bathrooms, in the kitchens, wherever there's a fixture, we're going to look at that plumbing.
You're going to run some water.
We're going to run the water. We're going to make sure that the hot and cold are properly connected. We're going to look for leaks underneath the cabinets. We're going to look for something called functional flow. And what that would mean is that the drain should keep up with the amount of water that's coming into the sink.
Okay.
So when I run this water...
Yeah. Do you run the dishwasher too?
Yeah. If the dishwasher's connected, if there's power, before, I'll give a homeowner a tip here. So as we're running the water, the drain should be working and allowing that water to drain and keep up with the amount of water that's coming in. If we begin to see that the sink is beginning to fill up, now I'm beginning to get an idea that the drainage isn't keeping up with the water flow.
Right.
So the functional drainage has an issue.
Yep.
Another test that I do is that I stop the sink and then I fill it with water.
Yeah.
And I allow it to fill. This one ain't working. Well, general concept.
Okay.
That I'll allow it to
fill
fill, and then I'll pull the plug and see the rate of discharge. And at that time, it gives you the opportunity to also listen, because all plumbing systems require vacuum.
Yeah.
If there's no vacuum in the system, then it's going to start gurgling.
Yeah.
And it's going to start making strange sounds.
Yeah. If it's not venting properly, it's going to be boop, boop,
you
boop,
see
boop.
air bubbles coming out while that's happening. Then we would look underneath.
Okay.
We look underneath the cabinets for leaks. We see that we have a
garbage disposal
here. And what the garbage disposal, we want to see if we have a on and off button for the garbage disposal. How does it operate?
Yeah.
And we have the on and off switch.
Got it.
Right there. This particular system is grounded to the copper.
Yeah.
So we have copper plumbing in the house, and the system is grounded with the copper.
Okay.
We also check for the dishwashers. We want to make sure that they're fixed in place properly, that they have the appropriate screws. We also want to look for the level of the dishwasher, because if it's out of plumb, if it's out of level, when it disposes water, it's always going to maintain some amount of water, and it won't explode.
It's got to drain everything out.
It's got to drain everything out. In order to have a perfectly draining and working dishwasher, it should be perfectly level, front to back, side to side.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is that I'll run the system, and I'll start it off as I continue my inspection.
Yeah.
And then about an hour and a half later, some systems have a quick run feature.
Yep.
I'll come back, I'll check the plumbing. But one thing I want to say before you do any test on any dishwasher is to make sure that the connection to the dishwasher is properly connected.
Okay.
So you have a water drain hose that comes out of the dishwasher and attaches to
It's discharging water from the dishwasher.
Right. It's like a pump from here pumps that water into the sink drain. If that connection is not in the right location, if it's loose,
that's not good.
If it's not there, you're going to have a big problem.
Yeah. Have you ever had that problem before? Have you ever had a dishwasher during an inspection leak on you?
I have.
Or a kitchen sink?
I have, where they didn't tighten down the wire, the clamp that holds the hose to the drain.
Yep.
The installer didn't tighten it down enough.
Yep.
So there was a little bit of dripping there.
Yep.
I've heard stories, though, of some of my friends in the home inspection business who took it for granted that it was connected, started the dishwasher, comes back to the kitchen, and there's a pool of water all over the floor.
I've done that many times. And brand new homes, too. So you just assume, oh, it's a brand new home. It's installed correctly. But every home should be inspected, even a brand new dishwasher install.
That's right.
So what's behind you here?
So then we have the stoves, the range. People call them range ovens. This one here happens to be gas burning.
Yep.
So I turn them on. I make sure that all the burners work. I test the oven.
Do you bake bread or anything?
The broiling? No, I just check to see that the features work. Actually, on my report, I say that the stove works, but its cooking capacity has not been tested.
Right. We're not baking any pies during the inspection.
Also, in new homes, this exceeds the scope of a home inspection to test to see if the range has an anti-tip feature.
Okay.
Right, so that would be that if you open this up and some kid thinks that there's some cookies up here and you've got something cooking in the back, and they use this as a ladder to step up, they're gonna cause the thing to tip forward.
The whole appliance can go.
It could be a scalding hazard against them, or say
it could be fatal.
Say a scenario where somebody's taking something very heavy out of there, and then their hand protection is enough where it gets too hot, they drop it, and that counterweight would cause the thing to lean forward, and it's a burn hazard.
So you're saying there's something that could be installed back there
so in the back,
to prevent the tip.
Right. So at some point, the manufacturers of every appliance decided, and this is now by federal regulation, that when they produce this for a consumer to purchase, they must also ship an anti-tip device with each appliance.
Yeah.
So the installer is responsible for installing the anti-tip device as well.
Yep.
Right? Whether you're a homeowner installing it yourself or a contractor installing it for you, that is a requirement for it to be installed.
And a homeowner can get a little flashlight and try to see if it's there, or try to move carefully.
Try to move it.
Okay. Or ask a home inspector to confirm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now we have some models that don't allow you to reach behind them to grip them and pull them forward.
Yeah.
So on my report, I would write that I was unable to verify whether or not the anti-tip feature was installed.
Got it.
Another thing we look for is the vent range ventilation system. So we have hood ranges. We'll operate the hood range.
Yep, I hear it. And this goes out.
So in some homes, this only recirculates into the home.
Right.
Some homes have a microwave installed with a vent feature that only recirculates it back into the house.
Yeah.
In this particular home, It vents to the roof.
That's nice.
And when we go to the roof, we'll be able to look at the roof vent for this unit.
That's nice, especially when it's a gas range.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then do you take a look at the countertops and GFCI?
For cabinets, we look at the drawers. We test a representative number, is what the standard requires us to check, a representative number.
Yep.
These are all original construction. And for the receptacles, I have a tester.
You want to test this one right here? Oh, that's a fancy one.
And that tells me that it's properly grounded.
Okay.
Now, if I think the current standard is that if you're within 6 feet of the sink, they need to be GFCI. I understand that the code is being upgraded to some point where they say any receptacle in the kitchen is going to have to be GFCI
all counter
protected.
Receptacles.
Yeah. So this is an older home.
Yep.
So the system was upgraded where the electrical panels were upgraded, but the receptacles themselves were not upgraded. Right. So we're not going to find GFCI protection.
No GFCI protection there
on here. Now,
so if you're in a local code that requires all kitchen counter receptacles, this one, there's a receptacle at a kitchen counter to be GFCI protected.
Correct.
You could test it yourself, or you can get a little tester or hire a home inspector to test it.
Right.
But that's the brand new code. But you may be in a situation where it's not required according to code.
Right.
But it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have safety devices installed.
So the client in this home had the electrical service upgraded, and the town code enforcement electrical inspector issued the permit and then came to inspect that the work was done according to the town's standards and the state standards. And the code official determined that those are one of those examples where that gets grandfathered. It did not require to be upgraded because it was a service panel upgrade.
Okay.
If it was a different upgrade where we were remodeling the kitchen, at that point, then they would have to be upgraded.
Okay, got it. Yep.
So we also look for the cabinets, and just so that the homeowners know, if you wanted to get yourself a little device like this, we'll show you how it works in a bathroom where I know that there is GFCI protection. You would plug this in, and it would illuminate green to indicate that it's the correct wiring. And then when we want to test the fault capability of the device, we'll press test here. Each receptacle should be tested according to the receptacle manufacturer's instructions. So they require that you press the test button on the device itself once a month. And that's how you test to make sure that it's working. But we go a little bit above that where we want to test other receptacles that might be tied into that one GFCI and make sure that those that are downstream from the GFCI are offering that same protection. You don't have a testing button on those receptacles, and that's what this would test.
That's right. Oh, great.
Now, over here we have a microwave, but we don't test for this according to our standards because this is not a built-in appliance. Same thing with the toaster oven. Same thing with the refrigerators. So these appliances are not included in a kitchen inspection. We're looking for, at the ground, we're looking for water damage on the ground. Most of the times, if the kitchen is on a house that has a crawl space, I would be very interested to get into the crawl space and look at the plumbing underneath the kitchen appliances, underneath the bathrooms. But here we have a concrete slab that's 5 feet thick because underneath here there's also ducts. The air ducts that deal with the HVAC system are embedded in the concrete that was poured for the foundation of the
previously you said that one of the systems is a downflow.
That's right.
And so it's pushing conditioned air down. Underneath.
That's right.
Underneath the concrete.
That's right.
And then coming up through registers.
That's right. So it's underneath this concrete, there's a series of tubes that the masons laid down. I've actually inspected them with a camera. And they are terracotta tile. And they put them down while the forms were made before they poured the foundation. Then they poured the foundation and enclosed them, encapsulated them. So that form is made into the concrete. and they're there.
And so there's no way to crawl around down there.
You can't crawl there.
No.
You can't check the plumbing from under there because this is a slab foundation.
Okay.
But if this was a crawl space or if it had a basement, I would definitely get underneath here and look at the plumbing penetrations in all of the areas where plumbing penetrates the house.
Yeah. So do you see any big safety issues or problems in the kitchen, in this kitchen?
In this safety issues and problems?
No, really, no leaks?
No.
Everything's functioning?
No.
Just the GFCI if you wanted to upgrade the GFCI.
I do have some concerns about the paint on the cabinets, right? So we inspect the cabinets, right? And I understand that this home is under some state of repair.
Yeah.
So we have some missing paint on some of the drawers. And if we look up here, we see some missing paint that's flaking.
Oh, yeah.
Flaking off the top there.
Yep.
So from what I understand, they intend to remove all of this and they want to keep the grain of the wood showing through.
Yeah.
So they're considering restoring it to its natural state.
Yeah.
And just removing all the paint. That's one of the considerations.
So a homeowner, by law, can do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
But if you hire a contractor and there's lead-based paint in here, if this is paint with lead in it, lead content, then the contractor, by law, is required to do a lot of safety precautionary measures.
That's right.
So that the contractor doesn't cause a hazard.
That's right.
And if you're a homeowner and you're wondering if your old paint has lead in it, I used to be a lead hazard risk assessor. If it cracks in checks or squares like that, that's a really good indication that there could be lead content in there. If it cracks like this, it cracks like a square, and cracks like that. So this is a good indication that there's likely lead in it. You can go to Home Depot and get a stick.
I would agree with you because I tested it and it is lead positive.
Yeah. So you can get a little stick. Yeah. Any homeowner can do it. Mm-hmm. If it turns red, it's lead.
That's right.
You can do that, or you can get a fancy lead inspector. But any homeowner can visually see it, test it themselves, and then be very cautious, especially with children.
So when you asked about safety concerns here, I would say that that's a concern.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want to start sanding this the same way we spoke about the exterior paint on the doorways without determining whether or not it contains lead. I'm under the impression that it does because I've tested it and it showed up that it does contain lead. So I would get a lead contractor, painting contractor who's lead certified to come in and do the repair.
So what do you want to inspect next?
Let's go over here to the bathroom. Okay.
Let's go do the bathroom, okay?
Okay.
Oh, it's a nice piece of artwork.
Oh, it's not really artwork. Hey, Ben, come down.
What?
So
what's this?
This is actually disguising where the main electrical panel is located in the
That's
house.
why you're a better home inspector than me.
All right. So we remove this here.
Okay.
Now, if you remember, we had the service drop coming from outside.
Yeah.
We had that sub panel inside the mechanical room.
Yep.
Then there was a line that traveled inside from the main service line.
So this is another main panel.
This is the main panel.
All right. And what you got on your head there?
So this is a headlamp. It helps to free up my hands and illuminate an area where I can operate tools or go into a crawl space and crawl through a crawl space.
Nice.
So what we're looking at here is that we're looking at the rating of the panel. When we look for the panel, we want to make sure that it's a 200 watt panel.
Yep.
This is a 200 watt system. Now, if you notice, this area here does not have that 200 amp shut off.
Right.
That was at the main panel outside.
That's right.
So this is a sub panel. When I turn off that panel breaker on the outside, this loses all service.
Right.
So I needed to replace something here or work on any branch of electricity that's being serviced by these breakers. I would turn it off on the outside, rendering all of these safe.
It looks like all the breakers are labeled really well.
Right, and that's great.
Except for maybe one here.
That's great to see that, but as you can see, that one's not labeled, and I can't verify that any of them are properly labeled. I could just say that they're labeled.
Yeah.
But
how accurate they are, we don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're required to do is to remove the dead front cover.
Okay.
Which is this electrical panel cover here.
Are you going to do that?
I am going to do that now so that you can see what we expect for inside. However, with every component that we inspect, it's inspected, and there's a certain degree of reasonableness that comes into play. Like,
all right.
We can get on. We're not required to get on any roof,
right.
But if we can, I try.
Yeah.
If I can.
Yeah. What about here?
Now here we're required to remove the panel. However,
can you?
If this has a monochromatic paint scheme,
right,
where the paint on the wall is the same color as the panel, and the painter did not separate the two and actually caused a continuous bond
right.
between the panel and the wall, I wouldn't remove the panel because I don't want to damage the paint.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to damage property when we do our home inspections, right? Some people might say, oh, well, if you happen to be a homeowner and you're looking at a home that has a monochromatic paint color here and you want to inspect the panel, then what you could do is run a sharp razor blade along the edge of the panel to break the bond between the electrical panel and the wall, so that when you remove it, you're not going to be disturbing any of the surrounding paint.
Yeah.
In this case, I happen to know that it's not paint bonded, so I'm going to remove this panel.
Okay, take your time.
Also, before, I already touched it, you saw that I touched it, but one of the things that you want to check before you remove any electrical panel is that with your palm facing your face, you touch the panel to see if it's energized. There could be a loose wire inside that's causing this panel to be energized, meaning electrocuted. And if you touch it and your feet happen to be causing grounding with something, then at that point you get a shock. So you want to touch it briefly to make sure that any panel that you're opening in the future, that it's safe for you to open the panel before you do. So Ben, another thing, when we're going to remove this panel, so far it's been safe for me to open it. Obviously I'm talking, I'm alive, I'm okay. But when I remove it, there could be a wire that's springy. There could be a loose wire that will suddenly make contact with it, or contact another breaker or another wire and cause an electrical arc, a spark, or even an explosion. So I want to protect my face, and I want to protect myself, and I don't want anyone standing around me. I don't want my clients near me. I don't want anyone near me. And when I remove the panel, I'm going to open up the door. I'm going to stand to the back side of the panel, and I'm going to open the panel like you would a refrigerator door, but I'm opening it this way and shielding myself as I remove the panel.
Right. Good tip. I like that.
Now here what we're looking at is the electrical upgrade. This is what the code official came to look and make sure that the electrician did properly. And here's where we're looking at the service entry lines coming in. I'm sorry, that's where the service entry lines are coming in. This here is going to power the sub panel that was inside. There was a small breaker panel to the right. These wires go to that small breaker panel. We're looking at the openings on top. Now, this house was built in 1955. If you look at the wiring, you see that threaded insulation?
That's old wiring.
Right? That's
original
cloth,
to the
cloth
house.
Insulation. So one of the things we want to look for to make sure that that wiring is not aluminum. We want to make sure that we're working with copper conductors.
That's the best.
And that's what we have. We don't have aluminum wiring here. It's not knob and tube, but it is the old cloth insulation. And so it's in good shape. Its integrity was still in place. So
it's still functional. That
all we're doing is upgrading the circuitry, the breakers, and upgrading the panel. But we did not upgrade, or the client did not upgrade the conductors. So this house is designed of plaster. If you were going to upgrade electrical wires in this building, it would be a big task. Right? There's a lot of making holes all over the place. Again here now, because this is a sub panel, one of the things that we're looking for is that we're maintaining a separation between neutral and ground, right? Because at the main panel, the neutral and ground can I forget the term, they can connect. But at a sub panel and all other sub panels, they have to remain separate. And so what we see here is we see a floating bar. right? These plastic insulators here make sure that the floating bars are not making contact with the bar, with the electrical box. So we have the power lines, we have the neutral line, we have the grounding wire. The system is grounded on the outside. There's no ground from here into anywhere into the house.
Yep.
We don't find grounding in here. The grounding was outside.
Yep.
We're also looking for the same conditions that we did before. We're looking for breakers. We're looking for wires that have the appropriate amount of sheathing removed.
Yep.
That they didn't remove too much sheathing, causing a potential for arcing.
Yep.
We're looking for wires that are not properly coated in terms of color. Mm-hmm. So breakers should not be having white wires coming into them unless they're GFCI or AFCI, and at that point they'll have pigtails that are coiled, which will tell you that that's the appropriate type of conductor for that kind of a breaker. But in this case, we have black and red. That's all we see here. We're looking, here we have a 20 amp breaker, and we're looking at the gauge of the wire and making sure that it's appropriate for the amps.
Yeah, we don't want a big breaker on a small wire.
Correct, right.
And that would cause
and this
melting.
entire system is a 20 amp system.
Yeah.
Every breaker. We don't have any 15 amp breakers.
Okay, okay.
Right, and all of the wires are of this appropriate gauge for that.
Great. Looks good then.
Yeah, looks good.
All right.
These top pieces here are called lugs.
Yep.
And, you know, that's where the main lines come in. And as I did before, again, these are aluminum strand. That's what we typically see.
Yep. You'll put the dead front cover back on?
Yep. Now, before I put a cover back on, just like I gave you some safety tips, we touch it, so make sure we're not going to get electrocuted.
Yeah.
We open it in a tactical way so that if anything happens, it's happening away from us.
Yep.
And now we're going to put the cover back on. Before we put the cover back on, we have to evaluate here. Do we have any wires that may not have caused a problem while we were removing the cover, but might be a problem when we're restoring the cover? So we're looking for any wires, for example, like this wire's coming forward. Mm-hmm. It's insulated, but it's coming forward. If I had a wire like that was bare, I wouldn't want to put this cover on. I wouldn't want to. I could safely remove a cover. This could be a case where I could safely remove a cover, but it would be unsafe to return the cover. Yep. Because of a condition that became evident when I removed the cover. Right. So I'm going to make sure that it's going to be safe for me to put the dead panel cover back on. Okay.
And it looks okay to do that?
It does.
Okay.
A thing about these screws, Ben, when homeowners are looking at these panels, these screws are sold at stores like Lowe's or Home Depot, and they have a blunt end. You notice how
it's flat.
There's no sharp point to any of them.
Yeah.
So they're designed that if they should come in contact with any kind of conductor, the conductor's insulated, and it's so flat that it kind of pushes the conductor like the point of your finger, which is gently make space for it by pushing against it. Yeah. But it won't tap into the insulation and drill into the conductor.
That would be a bad thing.
Yeah, that would be a bad thing.
So no drywall screws.
No drywall screws, no kind of wood screws, no pointy screws whatsoever.
Right.
Ben, remember earlier that I was talking to you about people having the concept of things being grandfathered?
Yeah.
And so here we have a set of stairs that are original to the home, which was built in 1955.
This is beautiful, the handrail.
I'll remove this here.
It's really nice.
And so this is a wrought iron handrail. Yep. And when we inspect stairs, we're looking for the strength of the handrail, how the newel post ends. We want to make sure that that's solid. We're looking at the rise, which is the height of one step to the next. Yep. So the part that we're looking at is the riser, and then the tread is the part that we tread on.
The flat part where we step.
Right, that's where we step on. And this front part of it is called the nosing. Right, so as we're coming up the steps, we're looking for level, right? We want to make sure that we don't have steps that are out of level. Right, yeah. We're also looking that the nosing is consistent. Yep. That the height, the rise between the steps is consistent. Yep. And also the footing, when you're stepping on it,
Yeah.
that it's sound. And in today's standards, the handrail has to be a height that's different than when this was originally built.
Yeah, this seems low.
When we get upstairs, you'll see that these steps are very low.
Yeah. This handrail's like below my waist.
Yeah.
Almost to my thigh. That's really low.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that this particular construction technique uses screws
Yeah.
at the base of, and it provides tremendous strength.
Yep.
Tremendous strength, and it's all it's got is, but the steps are made of hardwood.
Yep.
The railing is made of iron. And as we come up and across, you'll see that the guardrail at the top of the steps, if I was going to replace this system, that guardrail will have to be at least 3 inches higher.
Yeah.
Because it's too low right now the way it's
To meet standards.
to meet today's standards.
Yeah.
So if as a homeowner, if I wanted to repaint this, I'm good. I don't need to change anything. If I'm going to change this because I don't like the way it looks and I want to install a different handrail,
Yeah.
at that point I would have to install it so that it meets today's standards.
Yeah. I may even go and try to find somebody who knows how to weld and put extensions on every, because this is so beautiful. I would just find somebody who could raise it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that home inspectors do.
Right.
We kind of play with code, but not really. We're not code inspectors. We're not in competition with the township inspector.
Right.
But if we find something that doesn't meet standards, we talk about the safety of it, and it's really up to the homeowner.
Right.
We can't force anybody to do anything.
That's another interesting point, Ben. But as homeowners, we are fact finders.
Yeah.
Right? We provide the report. Ultimately, what the person decides to do with that information, they're sovereign. It's their business what they choose to do or not do.
Yeah. We just educate them.
We just tell them what they hired us to provide.
So that they can make smart decisions.
That's right.
It's up to them. Okay.
Now we're going to go upstairs and we're going to take a look at the bathroom.
Okay. And if I was a family with a little kid, I'd be concerned about the big spaces in between the guard here, because a small child could fall through.
So today's standards, this opening couldn't be more than 4 inches.
Yeah.
And so I would take a 4-inch sphere, a ball, and see if I could pass the ball right through, then something would need to be done.
If it goes through, that's no good.
That not according to today's standards.
Today's standards,
That's right.
Yep.
So this giant space here, like that definitely wouldn't meet today's standards.
My brother and I would be falling right through there as little kids.
As little kids, that's right.
All right. Let's go to the bathroom next, right?
Yep.
All right.
Most of the bathrooms have very typical components, right? We're gonna have a toilet, we're gonna have a sink, we're gonna have a tub or a shower or both. So I'm gonna be checking the functional flow and the functional drainage of all of the fixtures. The toilets in particular, what I check for is that they're seated properly against the floor. There's a flange that connects the toilet to the main waistline, and sometimes those become corroded over the course of time. The bolts become corroded and the toilet's all floppy. So I check, I just put my thigh against it, my shin, and I press against it to see if it's moving and it feels sturdy to the ground. I could grab it and move it a little bit like this. I check to see if it flows properly when I flush it. I'm looking at the water supply lines to see if there's any corrosion or leak at the water supply lines here. So this is still copper. The plumbing in this home is copper. These are the original fixtures from 1955. They're called crane. If you need to replace any of these parts, you have to contact the manufacturer because they might still have replacement parts for these or not. And the functional flow and drain here, I just turn on the faucets. I let the hot water and cold water run. And I'm going to check to make sure that they're properly plumbed so that the hot water is on the right, correct side. And we'll let that flow. If the sink is equipped with an overflow drain, that would be a little hole just underneath the bottom of the top of the sink. I like to test that. So I'll let the water flow go all the way up while the stopper's down and to engage that overflow to see if that's working.
Yep.
If it continues to fill beyond that point, then there's a restriction at the overflow
Yep.
that I would need to have somebody come and inspect. So while that's happening, I notice that there's a window here. All bathrooms require some form of ventilation. So if it's an older home, you might not have a vent fan installed in the home, but you would have a window. A bathroom without a window for ventilation or a mechanical vent for ventilation, to me, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. I would say that bathroom requires the installation of ventilation for it to work properly. So we have the hot water flow working in the proper orientation. And we have the overflow drain working. Now I'm gonna release the stopper, and I'm looking at the water drain flow rate. I'm looking at the drain flow. And that's discharging. I'm also listening. Very smooth, very even, very consistent drainage. No gurgling, no bubbles. And I'm looking inside to see if any of that activity has caused any kind of water leak. And there are no water leaks. There are also no indications of water leaks in the cabinet. As with the kitchen, I would check the cabinet to see if the drawers, hinges, doors on the cabinets work properly. In this case, we have a mechanical fan, so I'll see if the fan works. And that fan is working. So in my report, I would note that this bathroom has 2 systems of ventilation. It has a mechanical vent, and it also has a window. While the window's here, I also want to test the window to see if the window works. Sometimes you get a new window installed, and the installer might put too many shims when they're setting the window down, and causes the window to compress when they screw the window in place. And you might get a window that seems to open up fine as you're first going up, but then as it hits the bow where they created the constriction, it gets very difficult to open and squeaky, and that would become a safety concern. Because at that point, windows are supposed to provide us an opportunity for egress. If there's an opportunity where something's going on somewhere and I need to escape this house through this window, I can't have anything restricting my ability to leave through this window. So at that point, a bound window, a window that's bound, becomes a safety concern. And this window operates just fine. In this case, when a window is designed to be opened for cleaning, I like to see how the window feature opens and closes. It seats properly, the latches latch properly. If the latches didn't latch properly, then my concern then would be a safety concern. Safety from intrusion, right? So it's a security measure that we have to keep ourselves safe in the home. If the latches aren't working properly, then that area of safety becomes an issue for me. If the window can't be opened for egress, then it becomes a safety issue as well. We have hardware on the doors. We want to make sure that the hardware on the doors provides the user privacy. So I'm going to operate the door, see if the door locks. I'm going to see if it engages the strike plate properly so that the door closes. There's no play in the door. When I pulled the door, there was no moving back and forth. The door is square. It was properly seated against the door stops. It's even along the bottom of the floor. From this door frame itself, I get no indication that there's been any kind of movement in the framing of the house. So the house to me is square. The bathroom, the plumbing functioned properly. I'm going to test the tub in the same manner that I tested the sink. I'll put the stopper down on the tub. I'll run the water. There's also, in the faucet, there's a diverter that diverts the water from the faucet. When you pull it, it diverts it up to the shower. I want to see if the diverter works, and the diverter should work in two ways. When I pull it up, it should stay up and divert water up to the shower head. When I shut off the water, without touching the diverter should automatically drop. And if the diverter doesn't automatically drop, then the diverter needs to be addressed. So I'm going to engage the diverter. You engage it by pulling up on it. The shower is filling up. I'm looking at the shower pipe, how it's connecting to the wall, seeing if there's any movement in the wall. I'm feeling the hot water coming through right now, so the hot water is on the appropriate side. Now I'm going to test the diverter by just shutting off the water supply. So that diverter probably needs to be cleaned, because it should have done this on its own. And then I check for the functional drainage when the tub is filled, and I'm listening for the same things that I was listening for in the kitchen sink and in the bathroom sink. We're listening for gurgling sounds, we're looking for air bubbles coming up, and we're looking for a consistent flow rate to the water discharging into the waistline. Another thing I like to do is I like to flush the toilet while the bathtub is dispensing. So if there was some issue with the vacuum system in the drain, when I flush the toilet, it would cause this to gurgle. I would see air pockets coming up from here, indicating that there's an issue going on with the drainage system there. In this case, we're good. The last thing to check here would be the GFCI at the bathrooms. So if you remember downstairs, the GFCI was not upgraded, but in the bathrooms, the GFCIs were upgraded. So I'm going to show you how we would test it. I would turn on my unit. I would plug it into the GFCI outlet. This outlet is telling me that this is not properly grounded because it's indicating red. And when I press this test button, since it does not have a ground, it's not working. And the way to test it in this case would be to press the test button on the device itself. See how the lights went out? And now we're going to reset it. So the GFCI here is local, meaning it only works at the receptacle. It won't respond to the tester. Ben, what we have here is this is a low end. When I say low end, I mean it's the more economical version of a thermostat.
It's not a fancy,
this thermostat,
expensive.
It's not Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's not a smart meter type of thing. It's not integrated into no clouds. This is a standalone, at-home, non-programmable thermostat.
Okay.
So the only programming function that I have with this is that I could preset it to the amount of temperature I want in the home. So right now it's set for 73 degrees. It's reading that the current environment inside is 71, so it's not going to call for service.
Right.
When the outside temperature, when the inside temperature drops higher than 73, which is what it's set at, then at that point the air conditioner would come on.
Okay.
During the summer months where the heating system is not normally functioning, the standards for North Carolina warn home inspectors of operating heating functions during the summer
when it's really hot,
when the temperatures are above 65 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to gas systems, though, I test them because they're gas.
Yeah.
The other concern is mainly because of the reversing valves in heat pump units.
Right.
So they're a little bit more sensitive to that. There's some debate in the professional forums about that, but in that case, I side with what the state tells me.
Yeah.
If the state tells me, if they caution me not to operate a heat pump during those times when it's higher than 65 degrees, do not operate it in heat mode, I'm going to heed to that and not do it.
And as home inspectors, we're not here to just break things in order to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We're going outside.
Okay.
So this roof, it has about 5 different rooftops.
Okay.
The house.
Yeah.
And they're all low slope roofs except for the gable, which is right above us.
Okay.
Unfortunately, to get access to the gable, I'll show you where the closet is for that.
That's the attic, yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is, if you want to take a look at that, that's the access way to the attic.
Yeah.
And that's the only way up. We don't have pull down stairs.
Yep.
So in cases where I'm going to do a home inspection and we have things that are considered restrictions.
Yep.
Right, we have personal items in the closet that were not
Shelving,
removed.
clothing.
We have shelving that's installed that's not removed. We have a metal bar. I can't get a ladder up there and twist myself to get through that
way.
tiny crawl space.
Yeah.
Scuttle hole. So I'm not going inside there.
That's an inspection restriction.
That's an inspection restriction.
Yeah.
So when I told you earlier that we can inspect things with a certain reasonableness and certain limitations,
Yep.
if something is prohibiting us from having access to something,
Yep.
well, we're not required to disassemble something, remove panels, or cause ourselves, put ourselves in a position of some hazard.
Yep.
Those items are considered limited.
Yeah.
It's a restriction to the inspection. I can't.
Just similarly, you're not moving furniture either.
That's right.
So there could be something going on underneath, or underneath this carpet, but where you're not here to just remove every carpet and take a look at everything.
And again, the inspection is not exhaustive.
Right.
Exhaustive would mean that I've exhausted myself of any other question.
Yeah.
We look at
that would take
whatever
more than a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to remove everything and take a look, but that's not what a home inspection is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So we could take a peek at one of the roofs from inside here. That when we were outside, I showed you that after the home was 20 years old, there was an addition made to the home.
Yeah.
So if we come in this area.
Yep. So this is like using different vantage points to see certain systems.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we were outside by the pool, we were looking up at this roof, and this is the gable end roof that we were looking at from outside.
Yeah, yeah.
This particular roof does not have an attic.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a cathedral ceiling, cathedral ceiling. And the attic space for this roof here is actually beyond that wall.
Yep.
And we would access it through that restricted space.
Yeah.
So there is no attic to get up into here.
No.
But when we come into this space here, now, if my client wanted to know what was the structure of the roof made of, I could tell them it's standard framing, standard wood framing.
Yep.
It's not trusses.
Yep.
Right? It's standard wood framing. This is
with plywood sheathing.
Right above this plywood sheathing, we would have the shingles.
Yeah.
That's what would be right above here.
Yeah.
So here I have an opportunity to look and see, do we have any leaking concerns in here? And I'm noticing that there are no stains, no water stains on the joist.
Or structural problems.
Yep. Right? So these little studs against the wall are called cripple studs, right? Yep. And they help to support that, the fascia, not the fascia.
The gable side.
The gable side of the roof, right? And here's where we notice the old siding to the home before this addition was added.
Yep.
So this is where the original wall ended.
Yeah. And this is the addition.
We're standing in the addition.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's the old soffit to the original structure.
Yep.
This is the old siding, batten.
A lot of what a home inspector does is basically identify what
Yeah.
what is and what isn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like half the job is trying to identify what we're looking at.
That's right.
And then is it right or wrong?
And then you see this insulation, the insulation is installed in the improper orientation
Yeah.
because the vapor barrier should be facing the plywood.
Yeah.
And what we should be seeing is the yellow insulation.
Yeah.
But it looks nice for most people to get a nice uniform look. They think that, oh, I want to see all the paper and make it look nice.
It's
and
actually
neat.
backwards.
It's actually backwards. We're not letting them work the way they were intended to work. Right, so Ben, one of the nice features about this particular architecture is that we have access to the majority of the roofs
Yeah.
without needing ladders.
Just walk right out.
Just walk right out.
That's the kind of a home inspection I like.
Yeah.
All right.
So here we have low slope roof.
Okay.
This is the TPO covering that I spoke to you about. It's a membrane. It's designed, mostly used in commercial property applications.
Yep.
Flat top roofs, low slope roofs. This is the kind of.
And when you have a low slope, you can't have shingles.
No.
No shingles, because shingles, they're not watertight. They're not waterproof.
Right.
But this material, it's all sealed up.
That's
so
right.
you can have a low slope roof. When you have a slope roof, water sheds off.
Right.
Low slope, it kind of puddles up sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So different material.
That's right. And so
Feels good.
the way we inspect these
Yeah.
is a little bit different.
Yeah.
In the sense that when we're looking at this roof, what we're looking for is evidence of ponding water.
Right.
So you would look for a giant patch of dirt.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that means water accumulates there and then evaporates and all of the dirt stays behind.
Right.
And that ponding is indicative of some unevenness.
Right.
Either in the installation, it could be that some of the seams might be allowing some water to penetrate
Yep.
the underlayment, causing the insulation underneath to get saturated.
No, that's no good.
Then that dries up and it becomes hollow,
Yep.
and it could be a water infiltration concern if you
Okay.
see pooling.
Yep.
Now, there's some significant problems with this roof in that direction.
Okay.
This area here was replaced, I think a few years ago.
Yeah.
That roof as well was
Yep.
replaced a few years ago. But this roof here, we're going to talk about some issues that we could see
Okay.
as we approach that roof.
All right.
From here, when we're looking at the top roof here, we're looking at the edges of the shingles, and we could see that they're damaged. Right? They're broken, they look brittle, they're old. There's a lot of the granules on the ground here
Yeah.
from those gutters. So I'm going to set up a ladder just so we can get higher up, just to get up to the eave of the roof
Okay.
and take a peek up there.
You're going to use this ladder,
And we're going to use this ladder.
a little giant ladder.
That's right.
Why do you like this?
But let me tell you about a feature in this ladder. You could buy a giant ladder that does not have an articulating end.
Yeah.
So if we were on a roof that was pitched, for example, here, I want to get on this ladder, but I'm at an angle.
And that's no good. That's
Right?
not safe.
This ladder allows you to bring this end down and compensate for the angle
Yep.
until you have your ladder straight.
Right. That's pretty good. Yeah. Now the ladder is vertical.
So now the ladder is completely vertical.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not leaning over, even though the floor is
That's
off.
right. So I'm going to set it up at that end
Okay.
over there so that we can just get up to the gable and take a look at the eave.
All right. Cool. Let's do it.
Here we have a wall.
Yeah.
It's level,
Yeah.
right? And what we want to do is we want
What if I just hold the ladder for you?
Yeah, we want to get, oh, no, no.
Would that be good?
That's not good
I'm
enough.
strong.
I'm
What's
confident.
your idea?
My idea is just to get that to come down that much.
That's a better idea.
So that keeps the ladder pretty steady.
Yeah.
I'd like to at least get up to the eave of a roof.
Yeah.
If I can't get on the
To
roof,
see it.
I want to at least get my eyes up on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we can find out. We can take pictures of defects that we might be able to see right from the rooftop. So I'm gonna just
heading on up.
The other thing is, I would take advantage of natural safety features.
Yeah.
For example, I have a tool that I could install into the gutter.
Yeah.
That would compress against the back wall of the gutter, have rubber pads to capture this ladder to keep this ladder from sliding.
Wow.
I have the tool downstairs.
Yeah.
I could demonstrate if you would like me to get that. But what I'm taking advantage of here is that I've set it up near a point where the ladder, if it's slid in one direction, it's going to be stopped by this eave.
Yeah, that's smart.
So I'm just going to come up here.
All right. So Joe, you're up on the ladder. What do you see up there?
So I at least try to get as high up to the eave of the ladders, like the gutters, or the eave of the roof, even if there aren't any gutters, because there are certain features up here that we obviously can't see from the ground.
Yeah, what do you see?
As I'm looking up here, I'm going to be showing you that there have been some roof repairs done. You're going to notice that there are shingles that are of a different color than the rest of the shingles.
Okay.
We have a waviness in the pattern of the shingles. The shingles are very brittle. Let me get my magnification down. I'm looking at the material of the shingle, and they're very brittle. They're old. All of the granules are lost. There's hail damage.
Okay.
That I'm looking at. I'm looking at missing shingles.
So there's a few things up there that are wrong.
I'm looking at exposed fasteners.
Yeah.
Some repairs over here. Missing shingle over there. The good thing is that there's gutter guards throughout the entire gutter system.
Yeah.
So all the gutters have this gutter guard in it. But I can also see a lot of granule loss collecting inside of the gutters.
Yeah.
So the granules from here have worn away, and they're in the gutters.
What are the pipes right there?
So that's the vents. Those are the vents for the plumbing system. The original plumbing system here was cast iron.
Yeah.
Vent systems, waste systems, and copper supply systems. So these are still lead booted vents.
Yep. Yep.
And they have the rubber boot that they've placed around them.
Yep.
So I know at some point that they replaced that, but they used to be lead. In the past, they were made of lead.
Yeah. And that's the vent pipes. That's what you've been talking about when the sink drains.
Right.
You're listening to the ventilation.
So that's right. So the venting system for the plumbing requires that there be enough air in the pipes for the water to flow freely.
Yep.
The same way you could take the end of a straw, put it into a drink, cover the end, and when you pull up the straw, it holds all the water in the straw until you release your finger.
Yeah.
The vent plumbing does the same thing for the plumbing system in the home.
Those are the tops of the straws.
Those are the tops of the vents. And then here we see we have an attic ventilation fan.
Yep.
That is appears to be on a thermostat system.
Yep.
Mechanical. And here I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to take a picture of the chimney.
Okay.
That does not have a crown.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. There's no crown.
No crown.
So this chimney is serving the gas appliances in the mechanical room.
Okay.
That's not
I remember that.
That's not the wood burning chimney that's over there in the living room.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So what would you tell the homeowner of this house? That the roof is really, you should start budgeting for or something.
Yeah, so here, what we can see here is that they've installed it in the appropriate layers, right?
Yep.
You start from the bottom, and then you overlap the top one over that one and so forth, so they have the right amount. But if we're looking at the siding in the house, we're noticing that there's some decay.
Yeah.
There's some decay here that's taking place.
Yep.
So I believe that we're getting water infiltration, obviously, through this opening on the siding.
Yep.
Right here, we have some decay here.
Sure.
Right? So water is getting inside there. At some point, we have, this is an example of ponding water.
Yep.
Here. And as I step around this area,
careful.
Don't
fall through.
I could feel
yeah.
the insulation underneath has compressed.
Okay.
So you can notice a difference in the insulation.
And these skylights, they're notorious for giving problems.
Yeah, if they're not properly installed.
Yeah.
These are something that are going to require an inspection every year or so.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're maintaining your glass clean.
Yep.
There's a sealant bead around here. That's double pane insulated glass. It also has a sun reflective barrier to it.
And these here, these are just wrapped with the same, these are vent pipes wrapped with the same kind of roofing material and sealed around it.
That's right.
But, you know, this needs to be taken a look at every once in a while.
Yeah, so all these seams, when you do a flat roof TPO inspection, I would have a tool where I would take my tool and run it across here.
Yeah.
And if my tool enters that seam, that becomes an area of concern.
Yep.
And almost like a gauge, you could determine how much of the bonding has been compromised or lost.
And if your tool goes through there, that means water can go in there.
If a tool gets in there, water gets in there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So the inspection of a flat roof would consist of checking all of those seams to make sure we don't have any penetration.
So the shingle roof is old.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's got problems. It's already been repaired. It's going to have to be repaired and replaced very soon.
I would recommend that the roof be replaced.
Yep, and this material is in good shape. Maybe a little bit of ponding here and there around the skylights.
Yeah, and so in this area, what I would recommend is that the flashing that comes up against the wall, this bottom of the TPO wall here, T111 wall, that should be removed so that we can't do it because we don't do invasive inspections. But I think it's a good idea for someone to remove that and see if we have any water damage behind that.
Yeah.
Because this sagging, that sagginess, and that wrinkling of the water of the cover is indicative of water getting underneath.
Yeah.
And I want to know where that water's coming from.
Right.
The first place I would suspect to check is a higher source.
Yeah.
It would be this area here.
Right, where the siding.
And this area here.
Yep.
So I would remove the T111 from here and check out the flashing there where you're standing. I would look at the substrate there, make sure that the sheathing is sound.
Yeah. So to check a roof to see how well it performs, you have to kind of look at what you're saying is where it bumps up against something else. So this roof bumps up against the siding, and this critical area is really important. It all has to be done well.
That's right.
It all has to divert water away, and it all has to stay in good shape, and this isn't in good shape.
No.
And there might be indications of some kind of problem around here. And there's a lot of water being dumped right here.
That's right.
So, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. On the roof of those carports, right? Remember the carports we walked under?
Yeah, that's right.
Remember the carpenter bee damage?
Yep.
So that's the carport right here.
Yep.
And then this is the carport in the back.
Yep.
Where we were looking at the mechanical room.
Yep, that's right.
So that's the back of the carport there.
Yep.
And when we first started that, we were at the driveway and I was looking up.
This is the corner.
This is the corner where we have a lot of water
this is
damage.
really interesting.
Right.
Look what's going on here.
So we have indications that the water has come to the back here. It's come to the front here. And
now, when you're able to grab some of this fascia board in your hand, that's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
No.
No.
But it's interesting. That's a lot of wood rot there.
Yeah. And so where the water's coming in from in that area is the sheathing directly above it. The shingles are worn away.
Yeah.
And when I walked the roof before you came here,
Yeah.
my foot almost went through the roof right above here.
Yeah, don't do that.
So you're stepping on the ground, which is another thing. Homeowners or new home inspectors, when they're getting on the rooftop, don't assume that the roof can support your weight.
Yep.
And just start walking all over the roof.
Yeah.
You got to look around and see what condition it's on first.
Yeah.
Then you get up there, and when you get up, feel the footing of where you currently are.
Yeah.
And carefully look for deviations in the roof.
Yeah.
If you see valleys and dips or whatever, that dip could be that there's low quality substrate or low quality sheathing.
Yep.
Or compromised sheathing
Right.
that might have decomposed.
Right.
So that you have a skin giving you the appearance that the roof is completely intact, but you have a lot of weak points that your foot might go through.
And you could hear it too. You could sometimes hear it crackle.
Cracking.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on in this corner of the roof. So, this area here, definitely the roof needs, all the asphalt needs to be removed.
Yep.
The sheathing needs to be inspected.
Yep.
The deteriorated sheathing needs to be replaced.
Yep.
A new roof should be installed.
I bet there's some boards up there and they need to be replaced. Maybe some rafters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
There's enough damage here where maybe the tail end of the rafters are compromised.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So the tail end of the rafters, what would hold up the soffits and the fascia boards, and if you can't get any fasteners into those tail ends, you can't get this fixed.
Right. Yep.
I mean, you got to find a solution for that before you can replace these.
Remember that leak with the moisture meter?
Yeah.
That's over here somewhere.
Yeah.
And when we were looking here before, this feels like a low slope, like you said before, a ponding area, and it's literally still here.
Yeah.
And you said it would leave the dirt, which is what has happened.
That's right.
And when you feel the material, it's different from this material to this material.
Yeah.
There might be something here that the homeowner
something is definitely
needs to monitor.
Here. Yeah.
Okay.
Something is definitely happening here.
And then the leak was over here, but we actually don't see any problems with the roof.
That's interesting because what I believe may have caused the leak that we looked at with the probe downstairs is backflow getting between the gutter and the soffit board.
Yep.
Not necessarily water infiltration,
right,
but it's backflow or back flooding.
Now, are you going to do a roof water test or anything like that?
No, I can't do that.
No, right?
That's beyond, that exceeds our scope.
Yeah, and it's not an exhaustive search or diagnosis.
Yeah.
But at least you found something that the homeowner can now do something about.
Right, yep. So here we have indications that it's possible that maybe at some point they have plumbing pipes.
Okay. These things.
Coming up for ventilation.
Yep.
Right? It's possible, right?
Yeah.
The only reason why I would just discredit my own idea right now, or I should say discount it, is that there's no plumbing in this room. This is the living room.
Maybe this is the fastener, with the washer that poked through or something. Yeah.
For some reason, they may have lifted this up, repatched it, and refastened it.
Yep.
And this is a patch for that.
And this is the chimney stack that you were talking about.
Yes.
That was leaking, no crown.
Right.
Yeah. Similar to the brick wall.
That's right.
Missing pieces of that masonry crown.
That capstone, yep.
And we just can't see it, but obviously someone's working on it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. We have this fencing or guardrails. We made sure that as I'm inspecting this, I want to look at when the guardrails penetrate the roof.
Yeah.
How does that penetration protect the structural members of the roof from water penetration?
Yeah.
Right? So I'll show you a feature on these connections that provide that protection.
Okay.
So these posts are mechanically fastened with structural fasteners to the joists.
Yeah. How?
Right through the roof.
Really?
This entire TPO was removed. It was brought down all the way down to the plywood.
Yeah.
All the rotted plywood was removed. New plywood was installed.
Yeah.
New joists were installed.
Yeah. Wow.
So when they installed this, they installed it, attaching it directly to the joist with mechanical fasteners.
That sounds like a good way of doing it.
Now, attaching it is one thing. Protecting it from water damage is another. So this system is designed, there's a gap around this pipe, the wood, and that gap creates a funnel, kind of like a funnel underneath here.
Yeah.
This is specially rated to last underneath the sun for many years.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a bonding agent that goes underneath this that bonds this to this, and then the sealant that goes around here. And then there's a fuel-injected liquid. Not fuel-injected, an injected liquid.
Like an epoxy.
Epoxy.
Yeah.
That you use a nozzle and they squeeze it and they fill up the entire cavity right here. And that epoxy waterproofs the joint from water getting through the roof.
So the whole idea of having like a penetration through the membrane, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, you have to really pay attention to how you do it. You just can't drill a hole.
No, you don't do that, right? You don't do that.
That's pretty neat.
So,
I didn't know anything about that.
So those penetration, what should I call it? I'm going to just say adapters.
Yeah.
Maybe so that's specifically recommended by the manufacturer of this product.
Yeah.
So before I create any kind of alteration to something, I'm going to check with the manufacturer and say, hey, I'm going to buy this TPO to resurface a roof, but I have penetrations for a guardrail. They're made out of wood.
Yeah.
They're going to come up through this. How should I integrate the TPO with the penetrations? And they say, you have to use this in order to warranty everything.
Right.
You have to use this.
Yeah.
So this comes from the manufacturer that provides the TPO.
Yeah, and it's been tested
It's their system,
and guaranteed. Yeah.
All their chemicals.
Yeah.
It's all the way
That's great. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to know as an inspector.
Yeah.
Cool, Joe.
Nice solid.
Yeah, it is, man. It's better than the interior handrails. It's really good.
All right, Ben, so that pretty much concludes the process of a home inspection for most typical inspections. In this case, it's an inspection where it's not a real estate transaction. The people already own the property. They already know that I'm going to find problems. They're looking forward to know what their problems are. And that's why they hired me. Typically, what I will do at this point is go over the inspection report with the client, and there's a feature in the software that I use where I could go over a summary. So the summary is not going to go over the entire 80-something page report or 60-something page report. It's just going to be covering the items that I highlighted. I might want to mention that they should monitor something, repair something, or something of an emergency nature. For example, a window that's inoperable and would not allow someone to escape it in the event of an emergency. That would be a defect, a material defect. So the report breaks it down into those three categories. Right?
And when do you give that report?
So the report is regulated by the state to be provided to the client within 72 hours. So it's 3 days that they give it. But for due diligence property inspections, which is my company, I guarantee it within 24 hours.
That's nice.
So if I do an inspection for you at 8 o'clock in the morning, definitely before you go to bed, you'll have that report. If not, as we're driving away. I typically don't like to provide them on site because I still like to review things, and you might come up with an issue that would require some custom writing or commenting because of the uniqueness of the situation. So
that makes sense.
So I would like to at least review it. So if I do an inspection at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's my only inspection for that day, they can expect the inspection by 3 p.m.
But you can do a summary right after the inspection.
The summary is always given.
That's fantastic.
The final product report is delivered within 24 hours.
And your clients get the pictures or any videos that you do?
So the software I use allows me, when I was up at the roof, Eve, I sent you folks some videos of what I was looking at up there, and it's integrated into the report. So the person could have a PDF copy of the report, or if they view it on a computer where they have web access, the PDF becomes interactive where they could actually view live videos.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That are integrated into the report.
That's really nice. And what else do you have here?
So in addition to the report, I like to provide the customer with a home maintenance manual.
I recognize that.
Right? And this is provided by Internachi if you're an Internachi member. Even if you're not a member, if you're a homeowner, you should probably get this book for yourself.
And why do you have two?
Well, because I have a large Spanish-speaking community here.
You speak Spanish.
I speak Spanish.
You have clients who speak Spanish.
And I have clients who speak Spanish.
How's that work? How's that benefit your business?
Well, think about communicating with a language barrier. Like if the person spoke, say, for example, Korean or Mandarin, I would have a difficult time communicating.
Yeah, forget it.
So it's nice that in the community where we have a growing trend in Latin or Spanish-speaking home buyers to the real estate market, when they find out that I speak Spanish, that's a tremendous value.
Yeah.
To them.
Really
so
good.
It breaks down all the language barriers. But I also provide them the whole maintenance manual in Spanish. And I do another step above. None of my competitors, and I know this for a fact, issue a home inspection agreement written in Spanish language.
Right?
Yeah. So they'll present an English contract to a Spanish-speaking buyer. And the Spanish-speaking buyer now needs to rely on the real estate agent to interpret a lot
Translate
of this,
and all that stuff, right?
Or find some other means of understanding.
Yeah.
I cut through all of that.
That's really good.
I save the real estate agent time. I save the buyer's time. I earn their confidence. I inform them well. And I'm the only one who provides them a Spanish-speaking contract.
That's fantastic. And you do other inspections as well.
I do. I do mold inspections. I do moisture intrusion inspections, which would be part of the mold inspection process. I also do radon inspections. Currently working on getting the septic certification. Just not too sure that I want to go that way. I might contract that out.
What's that?
And this here would be a folder that I would give to a real estate agent. So if you are an Internachi inspector student that's thinking about becoming a home inspector, a tremendous part of your success in this business is going to be impressing people. Not impressing people with your unique home inspection techniques, because we can only be so special in that category. But you want to stand out from the crowd in terms of providing them information about your services, building a relationship where they get to know who you are, they like you, and then they trust you. So if they know you, like you, trust you, there's a chance for you to keep getting real estate. So Internachi provides us wonderful relationship building tools. For example, we can give a real estate agent continuing education courses. And so I prepare a folder where I tell them, that their home could be
just for agents,
move-in certified, right? So this is only for the agent. Most of my clients are coming off of the internet. I don't have too many agent referrals, although I do have a few that routinely send me some. I'm not building my business based on the reliance of an agent providing me referrals. Right? Things happen.
Because that could go away.
Things happen in life, and something might cause the agent to not be in that position anymore. And there goes my income stream. So I'm diversifying where my business comes from by having a web presence, having a website, having somebody manage my website, having marketing materials that I put together and I keep with me, having business supporting material like the manual, the home inspectors maintenance manual, and above anything else is outstanding customer service. When my phone rings and somebody has a concern, I have immediate access to their report. 100% of the time. I look at what their concern is. I ask them to email me their concern. And I'll get back to them within 24 hours. If it's not something I could resolve immediately from the report.
That's fantastic.
So you want to be ready to engage with your customers when they're introduced to you, while you're doing the home inspection, at the end of the home inspection, building a relationship to continue to maintain that contact. And then when the chance that they do call you for something, you need to be ready. You need to be ready to find that report, find their concern, resolve their concern, either point them in the right direction of what they need to do, or explain to them something that they're not understanding.
Yeah.
Those should be the two outcomes.
Fantastic. Well, Joe, it was fantastic to do an inspection with you. You obviously know how to run a successful home inspection business. You know how to treat your clients and how to educate them and give them the right information they need to make smart decisions. And I really appreciate your time.
I thank you for coming.
Where do people find you?
So they can look me up on the internet if you type due diligence propertyinspections.com.
Due diligence propertyinspections.com.
Right. And inspections with an S at the end. Due diligence propertyinspections.com.
Yeah.
The other shortcut to it could be ddrpi.com. ddrpi.com. But if you just punch in due diligence, I'll come up. It's like the Google algorithms have me at number one now for like almost 2 years, and I don't pay anybody to maintain that status. That status is maintained just by customer reviews. Yeah. I'll say one last thing about the customer reviews.
You've got a ton of them.
I openly, I'm transparent.
Yeah.
I'm very honest and transparent with my customers to the degree that I will create a vulnerability in my business profile by not filtering customer reviews. So some people who have websites will take a customer review, divert it to a filtering team first, and then after the review is acceptable, they'll ask the reviewer if they wouldn't mind posting it again to Google after they've determined that it's safe.
Sure, yeah.
I don't do that.
No, you take everything.
I'll take your criticism if it's good or if it's bad, because I think part of a lot of the problems that we have in this country is lack of transparency.
Yeah.
And I want to be accountable for what I do.
Yeah.
I want people to trust me that I'm going to be honest, that I'm going to offer them the best service that I could possibly offer them, completely unbiased and objective.
Yeah.
And if the only thing I could do to promise that is to promise that I will never censor what they have to say about me, I'll risk losing my 5 stars in order to be transparent.
That's fantastic. Well, Joe, you are a true professional. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, I'm Ben from Internachi.
I'm Joe Rodriguez from Due Diligence Property Inspections in Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
And we'll see you on the next home inspection. Bye, everybody.